So why are not all BFFs forever? And why do friendships change or come to an end? Welcome back. Happy to have you here today because today we're going to talk about vitamin G. And if you don't know what vitamin G is, stick around because I'm going to explain it and you're going to want to get some of it for yourself. But first, how do we get here? We talked 2 weeks ago about why I believe I presented my case. We, as women of a certain age, seasoned in our life experience and as business owners, are positioned now to be the best leaders, the best entrepreneurs, and the best role models for so many. And how do I justify that? I listed all of the attributes, the characteristics that really support that case. Well, if you didn't catch that, go back and listen to, I think it's episode 110, and see. If you disagree with me, I'd like to hear. And if you have some ideas, maybe I omitted some important attributes, please let me know that as well. Then last week, we jumped into, pun intended, trampolines, the conversation about trampolines and why I believe that building our own emotional and inspirational trampolines is a very smart strategy. And I have learned over a life of bouncing, jumping, falling, picking myself back up again, the absolute value of having my own carefully strategized and constructed and celebrated trampoline. Episode 111. Take a listen. Now, I also promised that I would share more about my biggest secret to my success and the career that I have had, and that is vitamin G. And no, it's not a nutritional substance. It's not a medication. It is a supplement. It's a supplement to my own success, confidence, wisdom. And vitamin G stands for girlfriends. That's right. Seriously, G stands for girlfriends. Vitamin G is without a doubt one of the most essential supplements for us, for our well-being and our success and the joy that we have in our lives. And when things are not joyful, having some extra vitamin G around you will help you recover much faster from any malady that you have. But seriously, it is a topic for deep consideration, and it's not something that I knew instinctively when I was young. The value that I have learned over my lifetime of carefully cultivating and curating and celebrating those special friendships that lift me up, that support me to be the best version of myself. In fact, they push me to be even better than I think I can be. And they are there to support me when I'm doubting myself or going through a challenging period. Now, vitamin G applies to your personal life and your business life. In fact, all aspects of your life. Vitamin G can be family members or unrelated people. But whoever you choose to make up your vitamin G component, it's the qualities in those people that are most important. By investing in those relationships, the return on that investment is exponential for us. Dr. Stephen Covey had a metaphor for relationships. He called them emotional bank accounts. And I think that's a very good analogy. You must make deposits in that relationship. You cannot only take withdrawals. And I've certainly learned over time that it's not always 50-50. There will be some ebbs and flows in the balance of those deposits and withdrawals. But over time, it evens out And in fact, the value of that friendship is compounded so long as you both respect that you are making those deposits with each other. I've also observed that when a friendship starts to feel unbalanced, when I'm sensing that there's something not right, if I pause and reflect, I usually notice that there have been more withdrawals than deposits on the other side of the friendship. The lesson learned for me is to stop and take stock of that situation. Is it because my friend is going through an extraordinary time where she needs more from me than she is able to give to me at the moment? And what can I do to support her? How can I give her more deposits? However, there are times too, and unfortunately, often this is in hindsight, I recognize it, that those relationships that are all one-sided, it's because the dynamics of the relationship have changed and we've outgrown what we had in common. Her interests and mine have diverged. The stage in our lives, the value that we give, the reciprocity between us changed. And that's a signal that the friendship has changed and it's time to look at it in a different perspective and a different priority in your life. So I'm not suggesting that every time this happens that you immediately fire that friend. But I am suggesting that you're careful about watching for those signs that the relationship has changed and taking steps to end that relationship or change that relationship in a positive, controlled manner. I didn't have that wisdom before on a couple of occasions, and I got blindsided by relationships that I thought were my forever strongest ally, best friends, ride or die girlfriends, and realized too late that feeling was no longer mutual. And I really felt hurt, surprised, disappointed by how the friendship devolved. So why are not all BFFs forever? And why do friendships change or come to an end? It's not difficult really to understand why that is a probability or a possibility. And that's because we as people are growing and changing. Not only our own emotional, professional, personal development and growth, but also our interests, our activities, our priorities change. And so what you may have had in common, what you shared with that relationship in the past may be recategorized now. And thinking about that, especially for women of a certain age, it's more likely to happen. And although I've also recognized at this age in my life that definitely my relationships are about quality, not quantity, much more than ever before in my life, I have observed that there are a lot more circumstances now that cause relationships to change. Some of the circumstances that affect relationships and friendships at this time in our lives include people moving away, perhaps. They've sold their business or they have a seasonal residence elsewhere. Perhaps there's been a divorce or a remarriage, which causes a new circle of relationships and social connections. Perhaps it's retirement, and now you no longer have in common the business conversations that you used to share and the schedules. Being able to make time for each other is certainly a barometer of the health of the relationship. As a woman business owner, often our social relationships, our close personal relationships will come from our business environment or even within our own organization. And as the business changes and grows, or your involvement or interest in your business changes, that places a different pressure on a friendship and a social relationship. So keep in mind that you may be ready to move on into other areas, but the people who considered you their BFF, or at least their pal, are now feeling left behind because they're not part of your expansion and your new focus. It's true. Our bodies are changing. We have health issues, surgery. I just recently was off for a hip replacement. That changes my social life, of course. And yet at the same time, that highlighted the vitamin G relationships that were most vested in me, because they made sure that I was taken care of during that early recovery period when I couldn't drive and I was feeling quite vulnerable and isolated. At our age, there are going to be more and more of these circumstances where either our own physical health changes what we're doing and what we're interested in, or that of a loved one that we need to care for. For instance, I have a very close friend who I don't see much of right now because she has become the caregiver, the primary person, medical advocate for her parents who are aging and are not doing well in their health. And so she's required to be where they live and to manage their affairs. And that's an increasing factor today among my network and probably yours as well. As our lives change, including our business, which may be growing or struggling or in the midst of a grand pivot, as our personal lives change, our relationships, whether it's empty nest or caring for aging parents or our own personal health or our relationships. Gray divorce is a big thing these days. This definitely affects what we need most in terms of support from our vitamin G network. Accepting and understanding that these changes in our personal and business life impact our friendships and require us to evaluate if we can be a good friend or if we need someone else to be more prominent in our lives to support us through these changes. I'm still fiercely protective of my vitamin G network, but I will share with you that some of those relationships have been decades and they're still strong and vibrant, and the reciprocity is very even. And other relationships have come to an end, some abruptly, some with great sadness and disappointment, and others that just faded away quietly. And of course, it's not at all surprising that later on in life, that person may come back into your life and you pick right up where you left. But recognizing where you're devoting your time now and who are the relationships that you are a good friend to are important. I developed a tool some years ago, which I was based on my own personal need to understand the changing dynamics in my relationships. And then I've gone on to use that with many of my clients. It's called the Friendship Health Checkup. And it walks you through what you need in a friendship and what you are giving in return. And if your friends and you are aligned, I'd love to share that with you and make it available with my compliments so that you can do a checkup. Are your friends good friends for you? Are you a good and supportive friend for them? And if not, where do you need to make adjustments? Where should you reprioritize? Where do you pull up your big girl panties and be a better friend, or speak up and tell your friend that you're not feeling supported right now? If we are truly good friends and care about each other's success and health, we can have those tough conversations and have a friendship that is even stronger than before. In this busy world, with a lot of stressors on our health and on our psyche, having the right healthy environment is even more important than ever. And supplemented with some vitamin G, you can withstand anything. If you'd like a free download of my Friendship Health Checkup, the details will be in the show notes below. And please feel free to share it with your friends as well. Hey, you could use it as a conversation starter so that you both are feeling heard and appreciated in your vitamin G relationships. Come back. Now, continuing on our theme of why we as seasoned women are so badass. Next week, I have the joy of sharing with you my mastermind partners. And we're going to talk about what that experience has done for us over the past 5 years. If you'd like to know how to create a fabulously resilient and mutually beneficial mastermind, listen in next week. Subscribe, put on the notification so you don't miss the episode. We're going to share our recipe for a highly successful and enduring mastermind 5 years, almost every single week of the year. Stay tuned.